The polls are open, and there are a couple of very important mayor's races that, depending on the results, could change the makeup of the state legislature. We'll get into that coming up.
Her death has not only robbed her of a bright future, but also left her son growing up without his loving mother.
An emotional day in court as loved ones of Patrice Miller read impact statements at her killer's sentencing. Why the man who took her life says he now feels remorse.
The fighting intensifies in Gaza as the White House scrambles to keep the war from expanding. I'm Trey Yingst in southern Israel. I've got the details coming up.
Working for you. Fox 2 News at 5 starts now.
We begin tonight with Election Day 2023, and it is the high-profile local races, along with ballot measures, that seem to be driving people to the polls throughout our area. Good evening, everybody. I'm Roop Raj.
And I'm Tara Nasher. In Warren, one mayoral candidate is noticeably absent from the ballot. That's Jim Fouts. And Fox News' Charlie Langton is live there. Charlie, do we seem to be seeing more voters turning out? Because, you know, Warren hasn't had a new mayor in quite a while.
Well, I'll tell you what, there are voters that are turning out, but many of them have already voted. In fact, I'm told by some of the officials here in Warren, where I'm at, that maybe only about 20% of the vote will turn out. 80% or thereabouts could have already voted. But there's no question about it. There are a couple of very important mayor's races. One of them right here in Warren, where I'm at, my old school, Carter Middle School, where I went a couple years ago. Anyway, and there's another one in Westland. And depending on the makeup, if those two particular candidates that are currently in the state house, if they win, it could change the balance of power in the state legislature. Take a look. Seems a little unusual that two races for mayor far from Lansing could change the power in the state house.
I vote for mayor here.
You want to vote to the mayor?
Yeah.
It's an important race, isn't it?
Very important for us. Yeah.
Currently, the Michigan House has 56 Democrats and 54 Republicans. If the two Democrats who are running for mayor in Warren and in Westland win, then the balance of power could shift, making the mayor's races in these cities very important. You vote just to change the power in Lansing?
No, mayor also.
In Westland, interim mayor Mike Landau is running against state representative Kevin Coleman. He has a mayor's race here. Did that get you out to vote?
Yes.
Just keep it right as it is.
Yeah, not in Lansing, but mayoral race, I meant, so.
What is it, Westland wins over Lansing?
Yes, yeah.
The other race is in the city of Warren between Human Resource Director George Demas and State Representative Lori Stone. The outgoing mayor, Jim Fouts, can't run because of term limits. Do you think Warren needs a brand new clean slate of candidates?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
You gonna miss the old mayor?
Yeah.
All right, the old mayor, Jim Fouts, I shouldn't call him old, but he's the mayor. For the last 16 years, he's been on a ballot for the last 42 years. And as you can see here, some of the people apparently are voting. They are voting in person, although it's not in the numbers that we've seen in years past. All right, again, that's the mayor's race, that if those two win. Now, I talked to a couple of political consultants that even if the two Democrats win, it would be tied 54-54. So likely the Speaker of the House would remain the same. Some of the committee chairs would remain the same, but there'd have to be two special elections. The governor would have to pick them. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. There's still a lot of work to be done if, in fact, that happens. All right, a couple of new mayors real quick in other cities, no doubt about it. Ferndale, Novi, East Point, of course, here in Warren as well. The polls are open till 8 o'clock, and as you can see, they're fairly active. More people voting, and they vote young here in Warren as well. I am live. I'll send it back to you guys.
Yeah, but you know, Charlie, this is something I think that really started during the pandemic. More people sending their ballots in early with the absentee votes, and maybe we will start to see fewer and fewer people turning out at the polls on days like this because of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in Westland, I've been in Rochester, I've been in Rochester Hills, where else did we go, John? We've been all over the place today, and pretty much it is Birmingham as well. I forgot about that. Maybe most people vote absentee, maybe 75%, which is pretty much the primary. And because of the early voting, I think you could vote for the last 30 or 40 days, depending on some of the cities. So I think that is a trend. Yes, it could be COVID. Yes, it could be convenience. Also, you can vote at home and get your papers out and figure out who's running. So there are a lot of advantages. But it is still Election Day, and the polls are still open. Get in line. Not a line here, but you can get in line. You'll be able to vote. And all those absentees will be counted, hopefully, tonight.
All right, you said it. Polls open till 8 o'clock. Charlie, thanks for the update.
Well, if you're not voting, it certainly isn't because of the weather. You can't blame the weather. It's been nice outside, a good November day out there.
Yeah, no rain, just cloudy and quiet out there. Weather Authority, Rich Luderman has more on what we can expect the rest of the night. Rich?
We have some changes coming for tomorrow, Taryn and Root. But yeah, you said it, all across the state of Michigan today, pretty quiet weather. Cooler numbers up north, but our next storm is gathering up here north of Minneapolis with some rain and snow showers in the western Great Lakes. Eventually, that's coming our way tomorrow. For the rest of tonight, just thickening clouds. You can see a lot more cloudiness out around Milwaukee and Chicago. We're still at 50 degrees, 45 in Lansing, 37 for the tip of the thumb. Some live pictures along I-75 at Birch Run. Even a few bright spots here in the late afternoon sky. So down to 38, cool and dry weather continues, and then showers likely tomorrow. How about a long dry stretch into the weekend and beyond? We'll check the 7-day for you, Roop, coming up in 10.
All right, Rich, talk to you soon. Thank you. The U.S. Coast Guard tonight working to free a freighter that ran aground in the St. Clair River. A webcam in Marine City caught this moment around 6 this morning. Check this out. This is when the American Courage ran aground. The exact cause is still under investigation. We're told the freighter is carrying 20,000 tons of stone. There have been no reports of injuries or pollution into the river. The shipping channel does remain open right now.
A convicted killer learns his fate for the abduction and murder of his ex-girlfriend outside Detroit Receiving Hospital, where she worked as a nurse.
You know, for the victim's family, the pain from her loss is still so fresh. We saw that raw emotion at times in court today. Here's Fox 2's Brandon Hudson.
These pictures of Patrice Wilson are all family members have left of her memory. A nurse, mother and daughter who enjoyed life, kidnapped and brutally murdered by her ex-lover Jamir Miller. During an emotional sentence hearing, Patrice's loved ones, some wearing purple shirts with her likeness, didn't hold back as a judge sentenced Miller to 35 years in prison. For Patrice's grandmother, Pamela Golden, the heartbreak is still raw.
I am so angry that you have caused on my family.
Visibly shaken, Pamela said the words that she wanted to say to Miller wouldn't be appropriate in public. She questioned the love Miller said he had for Patrice.
How could you love a person and you took her life? How? Is that love? Is that really love?
On May 13th, prosecutors say Jamir Miller wore a blonde wig, stalked and kidnapped Patrice Wilson as she ended her shift at Detroit Receiving Hospital. Investigators found Patrice's body in her car at her apartment complex in Novi. In court Tuesday, Miller, who prosecutors said had a history of domestic violence, wrote a remorseful statement read by his attorney.
This has been the worst, most haunting experience of my life. I have dreams and nightmares of all of our great times, all of our okay times, all of our dates and trips, even the bad and the toxic arguments.
Miller, who wore a mask covering part of his face, didn't show any emotion as Judge Kevin Cox sentenced him to spend the next 35 years behind bars.
You have obviously stolen the life of someone that was very, very precious to all who knew her.
Jamir Miller will get credit for the 177 days he's already served. The judge says he has 42 days to appeal his sentence. Brandon Hudson, Fox 2 News.
Well, to the Middle East now, where Israeli forces are now deep inside Gaza City, battling Hamas fighters.
And it could mean a major new stage in the month-old war. Fox's Trey Yingst has more from southern Israel.
Israeli forces are turning up the pressure on Hamas. Over the past 24 hours, the IDF says it's been focusing on disrupting the terrorists' command and control, eliminating dozens of commanders, blocking tunnels, and softening the ground.
For the first time in decades, the IDF is fighting in the very heart of Gaza, in the very heart of terror. This is a complex and difficult war.
But the fighting is also intensifying on the northern front. Rockets launched by Hezbollah on Monday reached deeper into Israeli territory than any time since the 2006 war. And a senior commander threatened to escalate those attacks unless Israel pulls out of Gaza. A special U.S. envoy making an unannounced visit to Beirut on Tuesday, hoping to cool tensions.
The United States does not want to see conflict in Gaza escalating and expanding into Lebanon. Restoring calm along the southern border is of utmost importance.
And as the situation inside Gaza continues to deteriorate, the State Department tells Fox News they've gotten more than 400 American citizens out, and only a handful remain, though it's not clear at this point if they'll be able to leave before the next phase of the offensive begins.
We're continuing to work with Egypt and Israel to ensure that American citizens who have indicated a desire to depart are able to do so.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu already looking beyond the battle, indicating Israel will have control of Gaza for an indefinite period of time. In southern Israel, Trey Yingst, Fox News.
Shame on the tree! Shame on the tree! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
Jewish groups and allies from Metro Detroit gathered outside Congressman Sri Tanadar's office in downtown Detroit today. The crowd demanding Tanadar support legislation for a ceasefire in Gaza. Many wearing shirts saying, quote, Jews say ceasefire now, and they warn dire consequences unless one is reached.
Sri Tanadar will never get my vote again. If he cannot take a stand against genocide in favor of a ceasefire, he doesn't deserve the support of the people of the city of Detroit.
In response, Congressman Tanadar released a statement calling for a humanitarian pause. The statement reads in part, quote, today I am calling on Israel to institute a 72-hour humanitarian pause to negotiate the release of hostages held by Hamas and the surrender of Hamas leaders responsible for the October 7th attack. During the pause, President Biden should appoint a chief negotiator to bring all parties to the table. I can think of no one better than former President Barack Obama to lead these efforts. If at the end of 72 hours no sufficient progress has been made, Israel should resume its military operations with the goal of destroying Hamas while minimizing civilian casualties.